Hi and welcome along to today's version of Transfer Daily, the show where we take a look at all the players that have been linked today with a January transfer move to the great Arsenal. And we're going to kick off today with a player that's his name has been getting mentioned a lot since the transfer windows open. News today that is really hotting up on this one, and it's Ilkay Gundagon. He plays for Borussia Dortmund, defensive midfielder. He's in contract negotiations at the moment with Borussia Dortmund, and it's starting to sound like he may be willing to move. The club may be willing to move him on. Of course, he's had a bit of some injury problems over the past couple of seasons. At the time, sort of like, say, if we say about 2 years ago, he was considered to be probably one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. Everybody was saying that Arsenal should move for him. He'd be perfect for us. He's a very tough tackling player, great at interceptions, may not have the massive physical presence of, say, a Carvalho or somebody like that, but he's very smart, very tough, also excellent technique, brilliant at passing. But as I said, his past couple of seasons have been afflicted a bit by injury. Borussia Dortmund not doing that great at the moment in their league, and they may be willing to cash in on Gundagon. And it's thought that Arsenal are very, very interested in bringing him along to the Emirates. Remember, he's still quite young, and we're being told that the price tag would be about £60 million. Now, to me, for a player of Gundagon's quality, if Arsenal were able to make something like that happen, that would be an absolutely brilliant deal. Whether he's at the same level as he was before all the injuries, that is what we're going to have to wait and see. And also the fact that do we want to bring in another player that seems to be injury prone or has had suffered extensive injury? But Gundagon is on the radar of Arsenal. I think that if that was to happen, that would be a signing that, you know, a lot of Arsenal fans would be very, very happy with. But we're going to have to wait and see if that one goes through. But Ilkay Gundagon back on Arsenal's radar, and if you believe a lot of the stories that are floating around today, it's a deal that they wouldn't mind or would like to see happen, and is a possibility that could happen. Again, it's another one of those deals that, is it going to be a January deal or is it going to be a summer deal? That's the question on these ones. These sort of deals during the season, very hard to get over the line. Gundagon, of course, is in Borussia Dortmund's team. They're in the Champions League. So whether they'd be willing to sell him at this stage is going to be another question. But definitely, a lot of noise has been made of Gundagon. Of course, as well, don't forget, Arsenal would face competition on signing Gundagon. Manchester United also very interested. But as I said, all the rumours point towards Arsenal sort of being in the lead, as they'd say, if it comes down to trying to sign him. Another player, now this is a very fascinating one, a very funny one for me. Luis Suarez has been linked to Arsenal today. Of course, Suarez now plying his trade over there in Spain for Barcelona. Things not going that great at Barcelona at the moment. Suarez hasn't scored loads of goals. I mean, he hasn't done too badly. I think he scored about 4 goals. But he hasn't, like, lit up the place like what he was doing over here in England. I mean, for me, it's way too early to tell. I always think to myself, why did Barcelona sign him in the first place? They didn't need Luis Suarez. They've already got Messi. They've already got you know, all these great players. But anyway, they went and signed him, and you know, a lot of the reports is that it's not really working out from there. There's a lot of turmoil at Barcelona at the moment. You know, you've heard all the rumours of them, you know, the possibility of them even selling Messi. So he's being linked now with a move back to England. They're saying that Arsenal, of course, will be interested. Manchester United will be interested. I suppose Liverpool will be interested. I'm not sure about this one. It's been all over the media today. But I think this is one of these. Anytime I see these links, and the link says Arsenal on alert, Manchester United on alert. That's Luis Suarez. What that means basically is that it's kind of a manufactured story. There's nothing really in it yet. It's just that, you know, Luis Suarez is not, you know, hit the ground running at Barcelona. So Arsenal are on alert that there's a possibility that if it doesn't work out for him, they might be interested to try and get him. I wouldn't really pay much attention to this at this stage whatsoever. And plus as well, how much would it cost to bring Suarez back? Remember, we originally bid 40 million and a pound. He went to Barcelona for 75 million pounds. Remember that. Now, that's going to be a lot of money, even though we know he's a world-class player. And I mean, it would be amazing. Luis Suarez and Sanchez playing together would be absolutely amazing. But 75 million pounds. I mean, Barcelona would want to get back all their money if they did sell him. And as I said, I mean, these on alert stories, as I said, anytime you see those, be very skeptical of those, because a lot of times there's nothing in it. It's just newspapers or media outlets putting two and two together to make a story. And I think that's what we've got in this case with the whole Luis Suarez rumor. Another rumor though today, that this one, you know, this one's got a bit more in it. This is they're talking about a player. He goes by the name of Gabriel. He's Brazilian. He's 24 years of age. He plays for Villarreal over there in Spain, and he's a defender, and a very good defender at that, as all reports. I don't know a lot about him, I have to admit, but he's been playing very well for Villarreal this season. He started almost every game for them. He's 24 years of age, as I said. Now, what we've been told is that Arsenal have sort of cooled their interest on Loic Perrin. They were very interested in him. They'd spoken to the player, but I think they're not really up for paying the sort of money that Saint Etienne want for Perrin, which is about £8-9 million. You know, he's 29 years of age, so they've kind of turned their attentions to this guy who's a lot younger, and they see him as being a future top defender, and also a player that could come in and do a great job at Arsenal. As I said, there's been rave reviews about him over there in Spain. The one thing I would say about this deal is that, again, he's Brazilian, but he hasn't actually played for Brazil yet. Now, how would Arsenal secure a work permit for him? Because remember, this country over here, we have strict work permit rules. Those sort of rules don't exist in Spain and Portugal and places like that, where they're easily able to snap up a lot of these young South American players. But in the UK, there are strict work permit rules, which would mean that looking at that, in fact, he hasn't played for Brazil. How would he get a work permit to come and play over here in the Premier League? So that would be a massive sticking point on that. Maybe Arsenal are confident that, you know, because you can appeal these work permit issues, maybe Arsenal, you know, are investigating that, and maybe they're confident that, you know, they'd be able to appeal any work permit issue and get it over the line. But certainly Arsenal interested in this guy, Gabriel Paulista. I'm sure we'll see more links to that as the transfer window moves along. But they're also taking a look at this guy. And of course, there's been the player that they've been linked with right since the start of you know, the whole January window opening, and that is Winston Reid. Now, the links are still there. We're still being linked to Winston Reid in a big way, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this one. I think, to me, one of the sticking points on this one is that I'm reading yesterday that West Ham are saying that they want £7 million for Winston Reid. Now, it makes no logic whatsoever for a team like Arsenal to pay £7 million for a player that in a few months' time, let's face it, in May, basically, will be able to leave that club for free, for nothing. So Arsenal could set up a if they wanted it badly, they could set up a pre-agreement with him and sign him for nothing. So West Ham wanting £7 million for Winston Reid, I think, is posturing. If he is going to go, I think it's going to be a couple million at best. Arsenal, of course, need defensive cover. so they may be willing to pay that money now. But sometimes we have to understand how the whole transfer market, transfer game goes. I know there's fans out there be like, oh, just pay it. It's only 7 million. But does it make any sense to pay £7 million now for a player that in a few months' time, let's face it, a few months' time, you could get that player for absolutely nothing? And I know players are going to say, yeah, defensive cover, blah, blah, blah. But then you might say to yourself, well, then I'm better off going, if I really want this guy and I can get him for free and they're holding out for 7 million, then let me do a pre-arrangement, get him in the summer, and in the meantime, I'll bring in a loan deal. You know what I mean? Clubs do have to look at the money being spent and balance the books. Unless you're a Chelsea or City, that you can make these crazy deals. But I think you do have to look at these things logically. And also, of course, West Ham, they're trying to get the most money for their player, and they're going to push up the money and make it as much as possible. But if this deal does happen, it looks to me like this could be a deal that's going to boil right down to the wire. One of those deals on the last day of the transfer day that could go through in typical Arsenal style. Just a couple of other little things to tell you about. Lucas Podolski, this rumour that's come out today, or quote that's come out today from Podolski, saying that he's very upset with Arsene Wenger, the fact that he's left the club and Arsene Wenger didn't even, say goodbye, shake his hand, etc. So that seems to rumble on. There was definitely something there in which it looks like player and manager didn't really see eye to eye, and it's been definitely made sense to move Lucas Podolski out. And then on the other thing was this whole Wojciech Szczesny thing. Of course, there's been this whole rumor going around that he got caught smoking in the showers after the Southampton game. His dad. Now, we all know about his dad and his legendary quotes. His dad has come out and said, listen, that's absolute rubbish. He didn't get caught smoking in the showers. People are got it out for his son right now. But what I didn't like from his dad, he's there saying that, everybody knows that, and whether this is true or not, but it's not really, if I was Wojciech Szczesny, I wouldn't want my dad coming out and saying that, oh, everyone knows that, the defence has been rubbish this season and it's not his son's fault. And for the goal at Southampton, he's saying that it was Koscielny's fault and also Mertesacker's fault, because Mertesacker showed the agility of a rhinoceros, totally ignoring the fact that his son went running out for no reason and gave the player the opportunity in the first place to try and score that first goal. So if I was Wojciech Szczesny's dad, or if I was Wojciech Szczesny, I'll be going up to my dad and I'll be saying, Dad, I respect you, I loved you, but please shut up. Please, for the sake of my career, keep it quiet, or I'm going to be missing out here to Ospina. Let's see quickly what you guys have got to say on some of the matters that are affecting Arsenal today. As I said, Gundagon is the main one. Ramsketch says Kadira. He's interested in Kadira. It's interesting. I was watching Kadira the other night. He played for Real Madrid. Looked very, very rusty. Interestingly enough, was playing sort of in that defensive midfielder role as well. Didn't look too bad. Looked tidy, but obviously looked a bit rusty. Again, another player that's had a lot of injuries. Meshalif one says he still wants Schneiderlin to come in. Paul Abbott said Southampton are pushing. We need to put up 30 million, he says, for Schneiderlin. I can't see that happening. Schneiderlin's not worth 30 million. He's a very good player. I'd say around about the 20 million mark is more realistic for Schneiderlin. If it's that sort of money, why not get out the target that we want? Schneiderlin would be perfect. Hafiz says Gundagon has got some sort of dragon's name, but listen, he's a bit of a dragon in that midfield as well, and that he can really, get amongst people, tackle, clean things up. I really like him as a player. Gaming Hooligan says he's going on about Reed and Schneiderlin. He said they'd both be cup tied. They'd be cup tied in the FA Cup, but both of them will be available to play in the Champions League, which is of course very, very important. Guma Hooligan was also saying that I'd just sign Winston Reed if he wants to be cheap, because we're not going to pay 35 million for a centre back in Hummels, and I think we're not going to be paying that sort of money for Hummels. Apparently Manchester United are willing to pay that sort of money. Hummels is an excellent player, but 35 million, I still think that's quite pricey for a centre back. But you know, especially one who's had a lot of injury problems recently, I think that's a lot of money. But it's going to be very interesting to see that who Arsenal do bring in, because I'm confident that we are going to sign either a centre back or a defensive midfielder. I'm not too confident about us signing like loads of players. I still think it's going to be 1-2 players maximum. But I do think Arsenal, they're going to have to bring in defensive cover, even though Koscielny's come back, because if not, we're just, again, one injury away from major problems. Thanks for watching Transfer Daily. We will be back tomorrow, taking a look at the players that have been linked. And, of course, looking forward this weekend to the clash against Stoke. Should be really interesting.